We are WGBB, the station that serves your community.
The views expressed in the following program do not necessarily represent those of the staff, management, or owners of WGBB.
Sending out prayers of comfort to those that were affected last night at the bombing at Chelsea, to those affected in New Jersey, and those also in Minnesota. This is Ted Hicks, Late Night Parents. We start again on a Sunday. Happy to be here and have, gotta stop calling her guest. None other than Dr. Michele is in the studio today.
Thank you very much, Ted.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We'll get some house cleaning taken care of. Initially, we want to thank our radio partners that play us. Of course, we want to thank our good friends at 1240 AM WGBB that play us every Sunday, 7 p.m., but also those that distribute the show, whether in podcast format, internet radio, all the above. I want to thank our friends at UNIR1 Radio, Life Improvement Radio, Arena Sports Network, Happy Hour Network, I-95 Sports, Mile High Radio, and did I say the Underground? The Under.us. I want to thank the friends there that play our show weekly, monthly, yearly, totally around the clock. I want to thank all of our friends that play the show. Also, the 405media.com. I want to thank you for distributing the show also. So with that, we're here. It's Sunday. It's week 2 of the football season for everyone. I hope you guys are enjoying your football, if that's what you do. I know most of America, that's what they do. Dr. Michele, what is it that you do that you really enjoy?
I enjoy a lot of stuff. But if you want to talk about football, since it is Sunday, going into Monday, I do watch football sometimes too.
Okay. We will get into that. We will get into that. This episode kind of named it Back to School. Now, I know school has already started for most of the children in the nation, but it really started for us up here in the Northeast, New York, right after Labor Day.
For some started the Thursday before Labor Day.
Ah, okay.
Can't forget those 2 days.
That's true. So I want to ask you, this whole episode is an Ask Dr. Michele episode, so it's usually not just a segment.
It's not the whole episode. It's Late Night Parents. Featuring Ted Hicks.
Oh, stop.
As the prime person.
Oh, no.
With Dr. Michele.
Okay. So how did your kids start off the school year?
I think they adjusted well. One of them has to be at school at 7:05 in the morning.
Wow.
So I don't think it's a matter of how did they adjust. I think it's how did mom and dad adjust, making sure that they're up at 7 to get the first one out and the second one an hour later.
Oh, my goodness. And as you said it, one of your little ones kind of heard us talking about it, and he wanted to make sure he made his presence by the door.
But other than that, this is their second year of junior high school. So I think that their transition has been a good transition into junior high school. They're used to having the whole locker, changing classes. But what they're really looking forward to is trying out for the basketball team.
Ah, okay.
Because this will be their first time that they can try out for the school team. So that is what they are very excited about.
That's a great segue into your other world, your other world of your better half. And that's his other world, of the next generation, the gym, over there in Westbury. From basketball to rugby to soccer to baseball,
volleyball now,
volleyball,
softball. So they're really working to expand the brand.
That's good.
Even with having speed and agility on the turf, which is something that translates throughout a whole lot of sports. And I think they're even going to bring in an Olympic medalist,
wow,
a gold medalist, to help with some of the speed and agility on the turf.
Okay.
Which I think is major.
I think that is major. We're going to talk a little bit more later about that topic. I got to tell you, I have a sad story to tell you. It's not really a sad story. It's more of frustration, being a parent, living in your village, and let's just say you pay your taxes for your village school, but you send your kids to private school. Now, I don't want anyone to think anyone's uppity in here between the hours of 7 and 8, but that was an option that my wife and I chose to do. So we bus our kids out of our village. Public school is great. I grew up in public school.
Yes.
No issues with it, but we made the decision to send our kids to private. Along with that, guess where books and busing and everything else comes?
From the school district.
From the school district, from the public school district.
Yes, and that's where your taxes are going toward that.
That's where your taxes are going. So, unfortunately, I had the situation of busing wasn't readily available, even though because
you have to fill your application out in a timely fashion before the deadline.
Yes, and the deadline is April 1st. So our forms were stamped March 31st. So, of course, we waited till the bitter end. I think it's more of we submitted it and it was actually stamped. So, unfortunately, busing wasn't ready for my kids. Textbooks weren't ready. Okay, so Mom said she was going to go down there and handle it. I said, okay, you got it? She's like, I got it. So she went down there twice. Unfortunately, she came up with a donut on both occasions. So Dad said, okay, I'm going down there. I'm going to take the day off because it was at critical mass. We were, I think, officially 3 days before the start of school. So I said, okay, I'm going to take the day off and figure this out. Of course, because that's what dads do. They're problem solvers. Of course, moms are problem solvers, but I just wanted to say that's what dads do. So you look at any dad, he's going to say, I'll handle it. So I went down there, and I was amazed, Dr. Michele, because I was expecting a huge, staff everywhere, ready to greet you and at their service center, and okay, you know what, take a number or something like that. It was something of the total opposite. It was one person there, and I'm sorry, I'm probably going to get myself in trouble. I don't want to get fired. But she was like a grandmother, like someone's grandmother. And I walked in there like a house of fire with the kids. Like, we're getting your books. We're getting the stuff handled. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why your mother couldn't take care of this. So I walk in there and I see one person resembling my grandmother. And I totally... It's kind of like when you're driving really fast in your car and, I don't know, or there's bad weather and you're trying to stop and you start skidding and everything starts to happen and you're like, wait a minute. So I'm giving you this long drawn out story because I had to stop because I said to the person, I won't mention their name on the radio, but I said, Mrs. James. I said, Mrs. James, where is your help? Because you're here right now. There's about 8 parents behind me. Where's the help? Where's the additional staff? And she looked at me. She said, Mr. Hicks, it's just me. Aww. So if you want, you sign that piece of paper right there and you can take a seat. And I'll get your children's textbooks. that was more than enough, Dr. Michele, for me to see. Because I was like, okay. I sat down, and I waited, and we received the textbooks. But there's something wrong. And I don't know if it's Long Island. I don't know what it is. But there seems like things are broken. I don't know if you've ever witnessed anything like that, or if it's just me. Maybe it's an anomaly. I would like for it to be an anomaly, but I highly doubt it.
Well, I never had to go to get any books because my kids go to public school.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go.
I don't know about that routine. But, there were a lot of things, in America that definitely need to be fixed. And we have to hold people accountable for what they're doing.
Right.
So at that point, with the experience that you had, hopefully you drafted a nice letter to the school district about your experiences. And then maybe next year the transition will be a little smoother.
Well, I think that's a great idea. What I did was, and you're making me sound like an elitist now. You're like, my kids go to public school. I'm like, that's me hitting the brakes like, okay, Brian, this is the end of the show,
No. But it's something that, if you want your child, it's a matter of a choice.
Right.
So if you feel that they're going to get the education that they need, by all means.
Right. I went for that option because I like the smaller class sizes. I like the more of the personalized attention that I felt that I was going to receive choosing the option that I did. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, I would not certify it for anyone because only if you're able to do it. Because there's going to be sometimes there's a possibility. There's sometimes, we're in this day and age where money can be tight.
But at the same time, you're also looking at the bigger picture because you're preparing your children to go to college.
Correct.
And you might pay more now with the possibility of you being able to pay less later.
Correct. Because
of scholarships. And then you have two that are athletes.
Right.
So we might have a scholar athlete. We don't know. But those are the things and that's how you develop a relationship with Next Generation and
of course.
And Dr. Michele.
Dr. Michele, you see, it all started from me being this elitist of wanting to do X, Y, and Z because no, my kids are too good to go to public school. But you like how
I tied that all
together. Yes, you did. You did. You pulled me out of this one. I was in a rut right there. But I will say there was that piece. Secondly, I went around to speak with the busing company and the district for busing, and it was equally troubling. It really was because in most situations, it's the same thing. You're getting your busing from your local district. With my son, the situation was we wanted to set him up so that he would go to his after-school program. And we're like, hey, yeah, I think that's a great idea because, number one, when you notice, like my child, he's in 4th grade.
Yes.
And you say, you know what, he needs a little after-school help. And we're going to make this option available for him. And we did. But the problem was getting him to the after-school. We wanted it to be, how do I say? We wanted it to be as smooth as possible. So the bus would pick him up in the evening, take him to the after school. He goes to the program, and then we pick him up.
Okay.
That's what we wanted. Unfortunately, we didn't have that last week. So there were provisions that had to be made, and the bus driver, and bless her heart, very nice woman, but she was like, I have no knowledge of what you're asking. I'm showing her the forms. I gave her a copy of our forms.
Oh, wow.
I said, give them to your company, to your dispatcher. We called the bus company, and you ready for this? I called someone on the school board directly. And it's strange because the minute I called the person on the school board, guess what happened?
everything just fell right into place.
Oh my, Dr. Michele, it's kind of like,
and that's exactly what happens when you speak to the proper person. Everything just goes like butter.
But does everyone have that availability to speak to that specific person? Because if that's the case, then the person isn't able to push along the agenda of the village if they're sitting there troubleshooting everyone's problem bit by bit.
But you know what? You probably saved a few other people because maybe now someone will look into the whole process that you had to go through. So that way, next year, it'll be a smoother transition.
I'm telling you. Lemons? What did he say? Lemons from lemonade? Lemonade from lemons? I don't know. Either or.
Just drink water.
Just drink the water and that's it. I just got to tell you, it was rough. It was a rough week. I'm glad the kids are off. I'm glad all the kids have started the school year, and really we just want to wish them the best.
Yes, most definitely. Seriously.
Seriously for their success in their upcoming, in their current grade. And, really a thumbs up to the kids because, hey, that's what we're all doing this for. To all the parents, want to give you guys a big shout out for everything that you've done. We hope you work with your children over the summer. Hope you did the necessary reading. And if you didn't, shame on you. Well,
I read an article and it talked about how it's important for students to be bored during the summertime.
Really?
Because that will encourage them to think more critically about what options are and how to entertain themselves. So that way we don't have to provide all the different activities for them.
Okay. I'm still trying to wrap my hands around that one. So they're supposed to be bored.
Let them feel that they're bored, and then that way they will do different activities.
Okay.
That encourage them.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Somewhat. I do think, for the most part, does everything need to be structured? Maybe not. I mean, they do deserve some free time. But at any time my son says, Dad, I'm bored, I'm like, go read a book. Go do something. You got to do something.
But you're supposed to let him have the option of figuring out how to entertain himself. So
Right.
be it, okay, I have the option of reading a book. The weather's nice. Maybe I should go outside and ride
Right.
my bike.
Right.
Or maybe, I need to go online and learn how to build a robot or learn some coding. So you're encouraging them to entertain themselves.
We just got to make sure that they're not sitting there on their Xbox or their PlayStation 4 just zoning out for the entire summer. That's where I get concerned about screen time.
Oh, most definitely. That's a major problem that we have, and that leads into the inability for these children to express themselves.
Right.
And to interact with other kids their age because they don't know how to talk to each other.
It's true.
And then we also have some adults who have that same issue too.
So true. I mean, that you hit it right there. It's good that our children do have choices. Mm-hmm. Very, very important. I still agree more with the structure. I mean, and I guess maybe that's because that's how my dad and mom parented, with me.
But that might have been how they parented you, but you have to keep into consideration we're in the era of
Right.
Common Core.
Right.
So school, I think, is a lot more rigorous and intense than it was before when we
Right.
were growing up. Because I don't remember homework taking more than
That's
an
true.
hour and a half.
That's true.
2 hours. If it was 2 hours, it was 2 hours too long, even in high school. And
That's
I took
true.
advanced placement courses.
That's true.
So what they're going through now is a lot more intense. So if they need to have the summer off, I mean, of course, still do some reading,
Okay.
do some basic things so they don't fall behind too much.
Okay.
But I don't think their day needs to be structured or as structured as it is during the school year.
So tell me this much. with your sons, during the day, during the summer, do you give them a writing assignment, maybe a writing assignment or two during the week, or do you just say, okay, enjoy yourself?
Well, what they had is they were giving a packet.
Okay.
And in the packet, there were questions that they had to answer. Some were multiple choice. Some were short essays that were regarding a book that they had to read. I believe the book that they had to read was Play It Forward. And once they read the book, they had to go through and compare different articles and answer questions. But, I mean, that didn't really take them too long because my kids realized that they wanted to have the rest of the summer free.
Correct.
So I gave them a book that they had to read.
Perfect.
And what we're supposed to be doing, we got a little lapse because one did more sports than the other. He did a couple of sports basketball camps, and as a result of that, he didn't read as much on the mommy assignment as the other one.
Okay.
So they're trying to say, well, you know what? We'll wait till the other one catches up, and then we'll go and have our book discussion. But then now when the one who's further in the book than the other one realizes, okay, you know what, this is taking a lot longer because once we have the book discussion, since they're in 7th grade, we talked about them being able to get on social media depending on how our discussion goes.
You said the magic word.
So, I mean, because as a parent, I know all the different things that occur on social media.
Of course.
I just had a discussion recently with a mom of a patient that I take care of where the child actually went online and set up a Facebook account and was communicating with a young man that was about 7, 8 years older than her. So things like that are real. And we have to discuss it. So part of, like I said, our discussion is you're going to read the book. We'll discuss the book. And depending on how our discussion goes, you might get social media. Being Snapchat.
How young is too young to have access to social media?
For me, I'm thinking like 7th, 8th grade is a comfortable time because they are used to using computers. They are used to using smartphones. And at the same time, they have a level of curiosity, but they understand the consequences of their actions if they don't do what they're supposed to be doing on the social media.
Gotcha. I'm going to table some of this for segment 3, because when we start talking about social media, I mean, that's a topic we could have gone for hours upon hours upon hours. Your children and social media, when not to.
We can set that up as another show.
All right, that sounds good. What we'll do is we'll do a teaser for segment 3, because I had wanted to talk to you and get your insight on when parents shame their children on social media. Dr. Michele, I just cringe every time I see a friend that I'm connected with, and they have their parent on. They have their children, and they show a picture of their children's room, and it's horrific. And I'm sitting there saying, why are you doing this?
But I think, too, that there's an issue because why are you doing something like that to your child? I think there has to be some deficiency as far as your level of communicating with your child, that you have to resort to social media to give light to a dysfunction that's going on right there in the house.
I just want to not really correct you. I want to correct the last 3 words that you said. In your house. That right there.
You say correct?
Yeah, correct.
Why are you correcting it?
I'm just correcting it. Well, correct is the wrong word. Emphasize.
Emphasize. Okay.
Yes.
Because otherwise, I'm going to go
Right. That's true. But no, it becomes more on the lines of, this is happening in your house, and you have to bring it to light on social media. What we'll do is, real quickly, we'll take a break, and we'll come back with our good friends Todd Vandenberg and Rob Steele from Cinema Savants.
loving my Verizon FiOS. In fact, I recently joked that if we move, we have to find a place with FiOS coverage. To my surprise, our family actually agreed. Not only is FiOS the fastest internet service, it also has never been down, with the exception of when Storm Sandy hit us. And indeed, only FiOS gives you the same speed uploading for your files, photos, etc., as it does downloading, as in HD movies. Cable cannot offer you this, only FiOS. So go ahead, make a very smart choice with Verizon FiOS. If you like your radio a bit on the fantastic side, try listening to the Happy Hour Network on Blog Talk Radio. The Happy Hour Network features live shows such as Late Night Parents with Ted Hicks, Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue with Todd Vandenberg, and Lee Vowell, The Seahawks Show with Kevin Daggett, and NBA Full Court Press with Danny Thompson. You can also catch podcasts like The Fwat Show, The Earnestly Speaking Podcast, Cinema Savants, and The Tennis Scene, found at blogtalkradio.com/Happy Hour Network. The Happy Hour Network, radio worth listening to.
Are you looking for some sick sports apparel? DHTK designed some of the newest and coolest brands such as Represent, Game Over, and Don't Hate the King. DHTK's vision is to integrate culture, fashion, and attitude that best represents the players and caters to us, the fans. Click on DHTK.com and subscribe to their mailing list for an automatic 10% off your order. If you are a basketball fan, follow DHTK on social media. Visit DHTK.com for more details. DHTK.com. You don't have to be a king to dress like one.
Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook of your choice and a free 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/late night parents and choose from over 180,000 audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/late night parents. That's audibletrial.com/late night parents and get started today. Why Audible? Audible content includes more than 180,000 audio programs from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine and newspaper publishers, and business information providers. That's audibletrials.com/late night parents.
And this is Ted Hicks, once again, Late Night Parent Radio Show, here with Dr. Michele, Ask Dr. Michele. You can find me also on Twitter as Real Ted Hicks. Facebook.com/Ask Dr. Michele. Facebook.com/Late Night Parents. And AskDrMichele.com. LateNightParents.com. There you go. We're sitting here, we're talking about parenting. We're sitting here, we're talking about back to school, all the above. We have, I'm waiting for two of my friends to join the line, Mr. Rob Steele and Todd Vandenberg, because they do a fantastic podcast that's available exclusively on the Happy Hour Network on Blog Talk Radio called Cinema Savants. Todd and Rob, are you there?
I'm here.
Rob, you're there.
And I'm here.
And Todd is here. Great. Wonderful. Guys, I want to welcome you to the show. Glad you guys can make it in the studio. We also have Dr. Michele and her son, Stephen. So, what's new in the world of Cinema Savants?
We're going to do a show. That's new.
All right.
What a concept, eh?
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
We're going to tell it's going to be funny from the beginning.
So,
we're working on details of what night we can go live, and we may wind up doing a podcast. It depends on scheduling issues. But, yeah, we'll talk about recent releases. We'll talk a little box office, kind of go more than just what the recent hit is. Like I was just, and Rob, yes, I promise I will let you speak. I was just looking through box office and thinking about how this summer has been just a disaster for the big budget pictures. Like, does anybody even remember Ben-Hur coming out?
Not
Been
at
out
all.
for 5 weeks, and it's 20
I didn't know it was coming out in the first place, and I watched the movie stuff, and it slipped past me completely.
It's done nothing. It's done absolutely nothing, and that's kind of what the one thing we kind of want to look at is just more than just, well, what are the numbers? I mean, Ben-Hur, I'm sorry, it was 28th this past week. This thing has been out for 5 weeks. It was supposed to be a huge hit. It's grossed $26 million.
How much did it cost, guys? How much did it cost to make it?
$100. That's the production budget.
Oh,
that's
wow.
not counting prints. That's not counting distribution. That's not counting advertising. So, they took a huge bath on this. And there have been a lot of movies like that this summer. Ben-Hur's probably the worst, but I don't know. There could be worse things. That's just the first thing I noticed was Ben-Hur's. Like, wow, that thing was tanked hugely. So we'll talk about stuff like that. And if one of us were unlucky enough to see it, then we'll talk about why it tanked. I didn't see it. I'm not one of the 7 people who saw it.
I don't even think it came to a theater near me. I mean, I've driven past the theater, several times a week. Never saw it on the marquee.
Yeah, not surprised. It's just did Zippo.
So, do you guys just talk about big budget movies? Do you guys talk about direct to your favorite streaming service? Give us the full gamut of what we can expect from the show.
Rob?
I don't know that we're going to do a whole lot of the independent movies, but yeah, we are going to cover some of the direct to video. If anyone still buys DVDs, straight to the streaming services like your Netflix, and even occasionally pop up with news about the streaming services. Like Hulu is going to be doing a big change soon that they haven't released all the details of. And occasionally mention things like, "Hey, if you want to catch this movie, do it now because Netflix is dropping it."
Exactly.
Which I hate. I haven't figured out why they do that.
I see those listings every month when I'm online that, hey, this is leaving Netflix as of this date. I understand when you can sit here and say, okay, for the month of September, here's the new movies and or TV shows that will be available, but it's just the opposite. I thought this is kind of like a cloud DVR, but I guess it's not.
Well,
I was really confused. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Todd.
No, I was going to say, I'm sure they just pay for a certain window. They've got 3 months to show it or 6 months to show it, and then it goes to cable, and then it, 17 years down the road, it goes to what were originally thought of as broadcast television. So, which has nothing. I mean, like the Emmys are tonight, and I'm not a fan of the Emmys. Rob isn't either. But you look at the nominees, and hardly anything is from broadcast TV anymore. It's from cable or streaming services.
So how major is cable in this whole big picture with movies?
A lot of movies are being made directly for cable or directly for streaming services now. I mean, the market's really changed. When on our last show, Lee had mentioned talking about the movie The Little Prince, which is a French co-production, was released over there, and by over there I mean France, last year, and Paramount was going to release it here, and then they got cold feet and decided not to. So it made its debut on Netflix here. So if you want to see a movie that did pretty well overseas and is based on a crazily popular children's book, you had to watch it on Netflix. And that's just how the market's changing a lot.
I think I've said before on Cinema Savants that TV as we knew it had a great run. And it was a good 50-year run. But traditionally, watching TV now has changed to the point of, it's not about, let's just take a show like tonight, Ballers, that comes on at 10 p.m. It might be released earlier in the day, earlier in the week through its, related streaming service. And I think the viewer, that's how they want to consume their type of TV. That's where the research I've done is the over the top versus traditional, where it's like, hey, I want to be able to pull it versus you pushing it to me. What are your thoughts on that?
That's actually the way I like to watch my TV. So I can't really argue that. I understand the concept of still, continuing the traditional broadcast television aspect to it, but at the same time, we've become such a computer-oriented society where we can get on the internet and find all these shows through, HBO streaming or Netflix, or even, streaming PBS. Growing up, it never would have even occurred to me to stream, and I guess they don't have Sesame Street anymore. That's on HBO.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Right.
But, stream Downton Abbey if you're bored enough to watch that show. It's become a society of get it when you want it instead of when it's pushed to you. So, I agree with you completely on that. It's bizarre, but that's the way it is now.
Yeah, and even the broadcast networks, even though they're pushing you the programming at their set times and same time frame, they all have their own streaming services too, and partnerships as well. But so you can still pull that entertainment you want whenever you want it, even from the last holdouts of we're pushing the information to you.
So now, is that also affecting the ratings that the TV shows get because they're not watching it in real time?
Yeah, it depends on which ratings you look at, right?
Ratings. Sorry? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rob. You're making the point I was just going to say.
There's two different types of ratings now. There is the watching it live rating, and then what's called the DVR rating, because somehow there's something in most DVR systems that say they're not watching it, but they are recording it and will probably watch it later.
Oh, okay.
Which is something I didn't even know about. I caught that because I'll admit it. I watch wrestling
because you're a true
and
American.
I caught something on a wrestling website that said the ratings for whichever show it was last night. Here's the ratings for the live show, and here's the DVR version. I went, wait a minute, what? And looked everything up. So yeah, apparently there's at least two. There's probably more. Breaking it down even farther than did they watch it or did they not. So the rating systems can become a lot more complicated than just, are they watching it now? Yes, they are. Okay, good. Check that box.
Hey, Rob and Todd, full disclosure, yes, I still do take my son to wrestling matches.
It's not wrestling, it's wrestling.
Oh, it's wrestling.
Well, I was going to clarify, when Rob says he watches wrestling, he means the 64 Tokyo Olympics and the 68 Mexico City Olympic wrestling. That's all he watches.
Oh, no.
Over and over.
Well, I do take them to sports entertainment. Does that feel... does that make us feel better?
Sure.
So, hey, follow-up question for you. When I was growing up, I always loved Siskel and Ebert. Tell me why I should love Cinema Savants.
We have thumbs. And I'm sure
we actually do up to 4 thumbs.
4 thumbs?
There's 2 of us.
I love that show too. If we can be 1/10 as entertaining as Siskel and Ebert, we would be wildly entertaining, and I don't think we'll be that good. But hopefully we'll be fun. That show was amazingly good. Great stuff.
Oh my goodness. Well, guys, I definitely want to thank you for coming on to talk about Cinema Savants. Tell us best ways to find the show, and also your Twitter and Facebook and website handles. Have at it.
Go ahead, Rob.
Hit him, Todd.
Oh, okay. In that case, I will hit him first. On the Twitter, which we will start using more often, which means I haven't been using it much lately, it's at Savants Cinema, because Lee, for some reason, thought that Cinema Savants wasn't available. Pretty sure it was. But cinemasavants.com, and again, the show's going to be on the Happy Hour Network. Whether it's going to be a podcast or live, that remains to be seen, but it'll be coming up soon. And you can also also want to hype Rob's... How often do you do the FWAT show, Rob? 3 times a week?
It was 3 times a week. I have knocked it back to 1 because of another show I'm doing.
Right, which is what?
I'm sorry, the new show is 2 Pages of Mystery, which comes out every Wednesday. 2pagesofmystery.com, number 2. Or the FWAT show, which comes out every Friday, FWOT. You can spell the and show. and those come out. You wake up in the morning, they're going to be there waiting for you.
Oh, okay.
SWAT show's hilarious, and 2 Pages of Mysteries are really cool. There have been some couple really good stories I've read on that, and heard. Thank you, Rob.
That's what I'm here for.
You guys are a true tag team, I see.
You see, back to the wrestling thing.
There you go.
Exactly. Rob
There
off
you
the top
go.
rope.
Oh, my goodness. Well, guys, I want to thank you again for joining tonight. Appreciate it. And I definitely will look forward to Cinema Savants or Savant Cinema, however you want to be listed on Twitter. And all the above, thanks again for joining Late Night Parents.
Thank you very much.
Take care. And I wanted to thank Mr. Todd Vandenberg, Mr. Rob Steele, Cinema Savants. Like I said, if you liked Siskel and Ebert at the movies, any type of, if you go to the screenrant.com website, if you like those type of shows or websites, you'll love Cinema Savants. So I want to thank them both for joining us. Now we can get back to segment number 4, Dr. Michele. What we were talking about earlier were the topic I think I posed to you. And we talk about so many different topics. So here's what is going to make this last segment. What's going to make this last segment is your thoughts on shaming your children online. Now, I say this because every day I see some type of video, and the video is either, a child is being disciplined, or you're seeing someone being screamed at, or a picture of someone's room, or, a child.
The haircuts that parents give the child to look like an old man. Mm-hmm.
The George Jefferson haircut that parents give the child to look like an old man. And, everyone laughs, he, it's so funny. But in a certain way, that's shaming your child.
And you wonder what's going on that you can't talk to your child and discipline them in some other manner that everyone on the outside does not have to know what's going on inside your home.
So true. So true. Because, I don't know, I come from, like I said, I came from an old school home as, certain things stay in the household. Mm-hmm. And I was talking with my buddies in the group chat earlier today, and it was a video of a mother disciplining her daughter. Now, she was disciplining her daughter because her daughter was twerking on camera or doing stuff that was inappropriate.
So did the daughter post her video?
The daughter posted the video. Mm-hmm. The mother told her to stop. The daughter decided to block the mother online so that in hoping that she wouldn't see it, and she wanted to continue that type of behavior. So then most of my friends, we were going back and forth about parenting. Mm-hmm. And you were correct because, growing up in the 70s, there was no Facebook. Mm-hmm. And when you did something and your parents didn't like it, guess what? You were disciplined. And the only thing that you would remember is mom would be on the phone with, Aunt Esther or Aunt Dolores telling them about what happened in the house. That was maybe the most you had to worry about. Mom or, dad wouldn't be on the phone too much. Dads are dads. But mom is going to be talking with her sisters and maybe her brothers talking about, well, here's what happened. Here's what I did. What is your take on it? And, if this situation pops up, with your child, here's some signs. I put that out there because there's all different types of parenting. We're in the age of digital parenting. And there's a lot of things that you agree with, that you don't agree with. But I just wanted to get your take on the child that does something or they post something. And it's really each side of it, I would like your take on it. From the child side and from the parent side.
Well, I just remember growing up that my parents would discipline us if we did something wrong. Or even the thought of you getting disciplined would put the wrath of God underneath you, so you wouldn't want to do something wrong. And knowing that if I did not behave appropriately, or if I said something that was inappropriate, I knew that I would have to go outside to the bushes and get a switch. And that switch better be the right length, because if it wasn't, I'm going to have to go back outside, get another one. And that one was probably going to be a lot harder as far as the spanking. So, granted, now we cannot spank our children.
Right.
Which is a whole nother subject.
That's a whole different show.
So now you have to do a lot of discipline as far as talking and then punishing your child by setting certain limits.
Right.
So for your child in the first place to be twerking and then post it online, why would you do that?
Right.
Who gave you permission to do that?
Right.
And why would you think that was the right thing? And that's probably the major thing. What would make you think that that's something appropriate for you to be doing and then go and post it on social media? And I remember growing up, there was one day I was getting ready to leave the house, and my shorts were not like the little Daisy Dukes that the children are wearing now.
Okay.
They were a little longer than that, probably the middle of my thigh. And my mother said, "Where are you going?"
Right.
With those shorts.
Right.
And I was like, "I'm just going out with some friends." She's like, "No, you're not." So parents are not setting limitations on their children. The other day I was doing physicals at one of the schools, and a girl in junior high school was showing her belly button.
Right.
And I said, "Sweetie, what makes you think that's appropriate to wear?" And she said, "Well, no one said anything." And I said, "Because no one said anything doesn't mean that that's appropriately the way that you should be dressing."
Right.
So the next time I see you, I expect to see more clothes on your entire body. And she's like, "Oh, you're so funny." I said, "No, I might be funny, but I'm being very serious." So parents are not disciplining their children to behave in a certain manner. And if they're not doing that, this is the result that you get. Children will post whatever on social media, and then parents think, "Oh, well, if they posted that on social media, it's okay for me to go and discipline them on social media and show what I did." And that's not appropriate. And that all boils down to our level of communication. How do we talk to each other?
Right.
And we're not, because we're so busy texting, checking email, going on social media and posting.
You're dead on. You're dead on.
Oh, so I am correct. I
Yes,
am on a roll
yes,
today.
yes,
Maybe
yes.
it was that 16 miles of running I did today. Just stimulated all of it.
Oh my goodness, you're dead on so many different levels, because as I mentioned before, we were talking about it in the chat room, and so I'm in a chat room with my buddies that I've been friends with on upwards of 35 years.
So are these all men?
These are all men.
Okay, so there's so much testosterone going on.
Yes. So it's more than 15 of us in this chat room, and it's just an ongoing chat. Mm-hmm. The chat started maybe 6 months ago.
So now why are you guys in a chat room instead of meeting or talking on the phone?
Correct.
Because a lot of times when you're in chat rooms, you're not necessarily communicating, and sometimes things get lost in the whole translation.
That is true. That is true. And from time to time, when we do have the opportunity, we do get together.
Okay.
We do get together. So whether it's at a specific event, or there's a barbecue, or there's fantasy football is helpful for situations like that. The draft parties, where we get together and we could talk face to face.
Okay.
But as you know, as we've grown older and we've grown apart, because some of us are in different states.
Okay.
It's a great way to stay connected in a closed chat room where we're throwing everything against the wall. And I find it helpful And I think for the most part, I do a lot of the talking. So I'm like, the mouth that roared, and it's always going on. I just think it's good because we all grew up in that era. And we've all, like I said, we've all moved away. But the sense of parenting and the sense of doing things, I guess we're stuck in our parents' way. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, Dr. Michele, because I know we have to morph. I know you can't go grab that switch because we've noticed the football player 2 years ago who said, "Oh, I had my son grab a switch." And next thing you know, he was suspended for the entire season. And you're sitting here saying, wait a minute, that person is parenting their child. You can't even do that nowadays. I guess it's beyond sad. I don't know. But you're right, because should I be disciplining the child on social media? Meaning recording whatever is going on and then putting it up there.
No, that's not appropriate.
I'm equally as wrong. And it's even worse because
but
it's
I
in
was
your
going to say,
household.
but then that's like you have an argument with your wife and you decide you want to videotape it and then put it online.
Come on.
Let me see where you're going to be
Come on.
living.
Right.
It's not appropriate.
No, it really isn't appropriate. And I think as parents, we have to do better. We really do.
But then again, you have to think about it. Maybe some people don't necessarily know how to parent, because you do have some parents that are younger parents, and depending on how they were raised, they're raising their children the same way that they were raised.
It's true.
I know people who were buddy-buddy with their children, and their children see them as their friend. And I tell my kids, I was like, I love you to death, but I'm not your friend. I'm your parent.
Dr. Michele, I had the same discussion yesterday in my foyer.
You use all my information.
I'm telling you. I had the same discussion with my daughter because we were standing there and we're talking about things and just talking about life. And then I said to her, I'm not your friend, right? I said, I leave that for you and Mom. And, the conversation that came to a standstill. It halted. And I said, no, don't. I said, we can still have a conversation. But I said, I'm not here to be your friend. I mean, yes, we can talk, but I'm here to ensure you're doing the right thing. I'm here to ensure that the structure is in place and that you need to go wherever you need to get to, you're going to go there. And I'd like to believe it was received because I've said this multiple times.
I wonder what you were talking about.
I had to say it because kids nowadays, they, hey, it's with Mom. And I even see kids that call their parent by
their first name.
First
yes.
name. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? I don't know. You know what, Dr. Michele, we're going to have to table this because we're getting toward that time, because I wanted to dedicate the latter part, these last few minutes, to the upcoming event that's going to happen next week.
The upcoming event that you are bringing your entire family to. So the whole family will be able to participate in our Walk to Health that's sponsored by Next Generation and myself. And that's going to be on Saturday, September 24th at 8:30 a.m. We're encouraging everyone to register in advance, but otherwise registration will start at 8:30 at Eisenhower Park, parking field 5. And the event will start at 9 o'clock, and we're going to have a free family fitness walk.
Wow.
In the park. So I am praying that the weather will be nice, and that Ted Hicks will bring his entire family to show support, because he is a big fitness enthusiast. He loves himself some football, and he realizes the importance of his whole entire family of being fit. So we're going to have some surprise guests that are going to be there. Some people who are professionals in their field and some former athletes. And we really want to have a good time. We're going to have a free raffle where we're going to be giving out some training sessions, be it for adults and children, and some giveaways.
All right. That's great.
And I was going to say, one of our sponsors is Body Armor. So
oh, okay.
They're going to be showing support too, because we realize, and we also are going to add a dietitian.
Okay.
Because as long as you are exercising and doing what you're supposed to be doing to your body, it's important what you put into your body. So that's one of the key things that we have to discuss.
Got you. Well, once again, I want to thank you for joining us this week in studio. It wasn't just a 10-minute Ask Dr. Michele segment. As much as you want to go against me, this was a Ask Dr. Michele episode. I mean, it was really great to have you here in the studio.
And thank you very much for letting me be a part of the show.
Oh, please. And just the one last thing, the address for Next Generation.
The address for Next Generation is 575 Merrick Avenue in Westbury, but the walk on Saturday starts at 9 o'clock, but we're encouraging people to go online to register at www.askdrmichele, that's ASKDRMICHELE.com, and use the tab down for Fit Doc Walk to register in advance. So that way you don't have to worry about any delay, and you'll be ready to start walking at 9 o'clock on Saturday, September 24th. And we're meeting at parking lot number 5 at Eisenhower Park.
Perfect. I want to thank you again. I want to thank Dr. Michele. We want to thank Rob Steele and Todd Vandenberg from Cinema Savants. This is Late Night Parents featuring Ask Dr. Michele. We'll see you next week.